Greetings, family. This is Brother Ron. You are listening to and watching We All Be News, News Free Dixie for the 21st century. Can you dig it?
Well, let me ask you this too. I get back as close to the domestic issue, like the situation with Sonya Massey. What's your take on that? With Officer Sean Grayson shot in
Well,
the
I've
face.
several videos, and there is absolutely nothing in that would give any defense. It was somebody who was scared to death. I could tell by some of the body language movements of the cop that shot her. And that was so far out of line that there should be a prosecution for homicide. They charged him with first-degree murder, but I think under the circumstances, second degree will probably stick. That was bad. There was no justification. That pot of boiling water, it was on the stove. He asked her to turn it off and remove it. She made a biblical reference, but she was, the way I've actually heard it, it's been years ago, and it was in the country a couple of times, was uh, a reference to the water boiling and to settle it down, because the boiling water is supposed to be a reference of the devil is trying to escape. So I took that reference in terms of throwback to that, not anything I'm going to be hurting you. And she was way too far away to do any damage to him. So it was just totally uncalled for. That was just flat out vicious homicide.
Do you think capital punishment should be on the table, or you think it's
I
not?
don't think capital punishment should be on the table for that situation. Tried 42 first-degree murder cases, death penalty demanded as a defense lawyer. Nobody's on death row. And I don't know how many I had to read 8 hours of instruction on to a jury presiding over. Got the youngest person in the world on death row, Ron Ward, down in Arkansas 40 years ago. So that, yeah, but that's second degree under the circumstances. They might find him guilty of first, but I think the solid one would be second degree, but they can overcharge him. And if the jury doesn't buy it, they can consider the lesser included offense, which would be second degree. Now, they charged him, but they haven't indicted him yet, so they can adjust things as they see fit.
But if they overcharge, they could possibly throw the case out. I mean, what happened?
Throw out if it's overcharged, because the jury in all jurisdictions is charged with what you call lesser included offense. Offense, in other words, if you charge first degree murder, you have second degree and various and sundry stand-ins for manslaughter, depending upon what they're called in the state.
I mean, but the fact that he's been moving around 6 police departments and sheriff offices last 6 and 4 years, that's a red flag. You can't
consider that in the trial unless it is put in issue by him taking the stand and testifying, and the issue of character comes up by his own raising, or it is contrived by artful cross-examination. And if that comes up, then perhaps the proof of other offenses might be appropriate, but you cannot bring that up unless it's brought up or the door is open for it.
But can you imagine how much he got away with? Because he turned off his body cam, and his partner luckily had his body cam on. So I can only imagine the terror.
I think
everywhere.
There is a problem that humanity has. It is the foremost killer on the planet Earth. It's the apex predator. We eat anything we choose to eat, or kill it and mount it on the wall as a trophy. We have it in our nature and genes, the capacity and the aptitude to kill. All predators on this planet also kill each other from time to time. Bear, lions, tigers, sharks, you name it, wolves. We all do these things. Now, The first time a human kills somebody,
Mhm.
unless his culture has advocated for it, so he's become conditioned to the idea. The first killing is very difficult, but it becomes easier. For some people, it becomes entirely too easy. And one of the aspects of officer training in our military and others around the world is being very careful of who you choose to do things like sentry elimination. In other words, coming up and silently cutting somebody's throat. Uh, Pick somebody who's a family man. Don't pick somebody who likes it because they might like it too much. And there are other people who haven't done the first killing, but they kind of like the idea too much. And you don't want to give them the opportunity or the license to get into it because they're doing something that they crave. They want those bones, they want that killing. Now, I've represented a few not street gangsters, but gangsters,
Mhm.
real ones. And I noticed something about them. They took great joy in having made, what is the term, having made their bones, so to speak.
Mhm.
They actually enjoyed it. They were
Mm.
nervous, perhaps, about the prospects of apprehension, but over the years that went down, and it's kind of like what you see when you look at the series Vikings, the first
Mhm.
series, or the new one, Valhalla, which takes place a century later. And it's this glory on doing the killing so that you can get to Valhalla later and you can, for the rest of eternity, or at least until Ragnarok hits, you can on a daily basis engaged in slaughter and be revived and winch all night and get drunk from now on. So there is that thing in humanity.
Well, I'm thinking when you saying all this, Judge, I think Son Grayson, excuse me, the guy who killed Sonya Massey, I believe he had a military background too. And I'm thinking about the military is weird to me because Jeffrey Dahmer was in the military over in Germany. No telling if he killed how many people he ate and killed over there. We don't know. But some of these serial killers and some of these psychopaths, they come out the military. Ain't no disrespect, but Fort Hood, Texas, all them people that end up missing, and I remember that mass shooting that took place in Fort Hood with the Muslim psychologist, whatever he was. Then the missing women from Fort Hood. Fort Hood is weird. I'm just saying, do you think it's something a connection between certain type of is it like some type of mind control going on where the
It's not
military produce serial killers?
control. It's
Right.
turning the beast loose and getting
Mm-hmm.
it used to the idea and accustomed to it. And once getting away with it, or once having done it and having had it approved, like I said, for some people it becomes too easy. Now, I
Mm-hmm.
did have a lot of these defendants psychologically evaluated, and that's what we get. There is a particular problem with the military.
Mm-hmm.
It's very bad now because we have a lot of people who did not spend what was the average time in combat in the Pacific War and World War II of 19 days or 36 days in Europe when you were in a combat unit. These people have been in country, not in the NAM where they were in an encampment or inside Saigon or on a
Mm-hmm.
base, a forward base even. They were being continuously shot at or exposed to the violence of, say, IEDs on a continuous basis for a year at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Also, due to the changes in the way wars are fought, it's no longer a matter of lay down fire over there. You know the enemy's over in that direction, but you can't see them. They're concealed by the bushes and the trees. And you lay down the fire, and 3 hours later, if you can't get over there because your guys have advanced, you might see dead bodies, but you don't know you shot them. A lot of people in the military just fire in the general direction or don't even shoot
Mm-hmm.
because they've got a problem with it. But in today's combat, they have red dot sights and lasers,
Mm-hmm.
uh, optical devices. So the soldier sees the target, sees the dot or the crosshairs on it, squeezes the trigger and watches it drop. So he knows he's going to kill him. Now that's one problem. That makes the familiarity with the process of death more than random. It becomes personal. And what you do is you extend the philosophy and outlook of the sniper down to the ordinary infantryman, which was a change from the way it was fought. Additionally, what winds up happening is even worse. You have the soldier who is in a support unit, and he looks at the supposed excitement of being in combat, and he notices that he's missed it. So he wishes to get his trophy to mount on his den wall when he gets out of it, and he hasn't gotten it. So he looks forward to being in a situation, typically in a police department, where he might get this kind of excitement, and he wants his trophy to put on his den wall. Now, usually common sense, character looms into the picture to override these kind of fantasies that come to an apex killer. But some people don't have those restraints, and it manifests in what you saw. There's also a thing too that I find interesting. When I had an analysis done of a lot of these people, they got bullied a lot. Now, as they grew up, they may have morphed in a few years when puberty hit or after it hit, from the small guy who gets shoved around to somebody who's 6'4" and weighs 285 pounds, and he can kick behind, but he still hasn't gotten over that being slapped around on his head before he started growing, or when he was exposed to other children who were a lot older than him and he didn't know how to stand up to them. So he's been craving this opportunity to get vengeance, to scapegoat somebody. I worked as a playground director for a while, and I noticed the phenomenon of, we had kindergarten through 6th grade in elementary school in LA, and then we had 7 through 9 in junior high, and then 10 through 12 in high school. And I noticed the phenomenon of somebody I knew to have graduated from the 6th grade and gone on to junior high school. He's in the 7th, and somebody in the 8th grade smacked him across his head. I'd hear from some of the other students who had come back to volunteer. He's mad, he's upset, got an attitude, and he finds a 6th grader, smacks him across the head. He feels better. The 6th grader's mad. He'll shove around, smack across the head a 5th grader, or goes all the way down to the 1st grader who has nobody left to smack, and he's crying. You see, that's also a phenomenon with rape. One thing that's unspoken is, down in our hoods here in Memphis, a lot of times what happens is some person who is a real rapist, not one who just didn't give the woman the rent money and she's mad at him. Real rapist, what happened is he was walking along and he got snatched by 5 or 6 dudes who had done time together in the penitentiary. They drug him into an unoccupied apartment in the projects, but raped him. And he's getting vengeance by finding a woman to do the same thing to. And it isn't a matter of lust, it's a matter of scapegoating to get vengeance by doing something that he thinks is nasty to somebody. So at all of these moments where we get vengeance, and I see feminists too who have some really weird ways of seeking vengeance. They want to hurt somebody for the perceived inequity of their situations and what they think they have suffered that are insults. Now, that gives everybody a problem. Now, when you have a proper society where there is manhood in the hood or displayed in the hallways, there is a proclivity to adjust children to the realities of their nature by, boy, you better stand up for that, to that bully. Don't run home. You need to learn how to fight. We'll give you some lessons. We'll get you some martial arts, or it used to be teach you how to box. And I don't want to see you run home. I don't care if you come back with a bloody lip and black eye. You better stand up to somebody. So you learn personal courage, and you learn when it is to apply. You learn how to apply it, and even if you get your behind whipped, at least you cause the bully some pain, so he'll think about it 3 or 4 times before he messes with you the next time.
Right.
But you see, we don't have that. Oh my God, we have to protect these children from being bullied. The police and the faculty and the parents, and you have the sorry spectacle of law enforcement showing up to arrest a 7-year-old who got in a fight with another 7-year-old, which is absolutely preposterous. And the sissified way of raising children does not get rid of the beast, that instinctive, genetically acquired ability to be the apex predator on the planet Earth. It doesn't go away. It stays there. And if you don't adjust a child and make him familiar with what it's about, it comes out in the worst kind of ways. Sometimes it is a cop. Oftentimes, it's a male cop. Some few times it's a female cop. And both of the above and other people who also just might be a neighbor, what they're trying to do is prove something to themselves, and they deliberately find and insinuate themselves in positions where they are likely to have these confrontations.
Yeah, Judge. Judge, can you hear us? Can we hear you? Yeah, it went out. Yeah. Can't hear you. We can't hear you. Just come in and out, I guess. Let me see. So he'll be back joining us shortly. Judge in the house. But I mean, what do you think, Brother Charles? Anything you want to add? You got your mute. You on mute? You good?
Yeah, man. I was just listening, trying to soak in everything he was saying, man. There's some great information. I mean, he said a whole lot, man. And I mean, I you can agree with him because a lot of stuff he said, and that you say, Ron, too, that I'm learning that I didn't know. So it's good to sit and listen to people because you can learn a lot. When you sit and listen, because we all can share. But man, speaking on the psychological part of it, somebody's mind and what they done been through, or the drama that might be affecting them years later and never getting any help for it. Man, that's deep, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. I mean, it's good. Like, I feel like Judge is really an elder. He's a statesman in his own way, statesman for our people. He's very, like we missing that type of masculinity in our leadership. Like people that really care about their people, and they share those hard truths and whatnot, and they challenge you to really, be on your toes and do your due diligence as well. So it's very important. And I mean, a couple of things I want to ask Judge as pertaining to the Sean Grayson thing. I think is very important. I just find it strange that Sean Grayson is having his due process. The brother or the person, the demon who shot Sonya Massey, he's having his due process respected, whereas the brothers, the demons, whatever you want to call them, the 5 black men, black cops that beat to death Tyre Nichols, they were immediately thrown the book at and put under the bus, and they were decertified. And I never seen it happen to police like that. There've been those type of positions because I said a dude that killed this lady, he had 6 jobs in 4 years as law enforcement. The guy who killed Tamir Rice, the police officer that killed Tamir Rice, he was able to get another job. The police officer that killed Mike Brown, Darren Wilson, he was able to get employment somewhere else.
Just go to another city, state, huh?
Go to another city, town, village, or whatever. Yeah. And okay, we got Judge.
Back.
Hey, Judge, I gotta ask you this. Me and Brother Charles were talking, like Sean Grayson, the guy who shot Sonya Massey in the face. I'm thinking about, why did he get this treatment as the 5 black police officers in Memphis who beat to death Tyre Nichols? They got decertified right away. They got the bus thrown at them. The Fraternal Order of Police did not come to their aid. No GoFundMe's, but all these other white cops killing black people, whether it be Darren Wilson with Mike Brown, a dude with Tamir Rice, think of you just name. They get their due process respected. They're able to do GoFundMe's and get the proper legal representation from the Fraternal Order of Police, and they can move from different towns, cities, and villages. So
Well,
how can you explain that?
There's a big difference between what we looked at most recently and the Tyre Nichols thing. The Tyre Nichols thing had absolutely nothing to do with police work.
Okay.
What was going on is 5 guys who were frat brothers got angry because the victim was a pointed and intended victim of what was supposed to be just an ass whipping. He had been allegedly trying to screw or screwing the women folk associated with several of the 5 cops. So he was trying to deal with one's wife, allegedly, dealing with another one's wife, and dealing with allegedly the baby mama of a third one. So they had apparently met up with him, warned him, told him to back off, and he did not. So they went looking for him, but what they did not realize was he was suffering from Crohn's disease, and it caused internal bleeding that he died from. Had he been healthy, it would have just been a behind whipping that he would have recovered from. But they went looking for them. It was not a random contact between the police and some random citizen. It was a pointed one where they were looking for this specific individual, and that was just way off code. That's like somebody who just happens to be a cop having a grievance against somebody, and off duty or otherwise, he goes and shoots them. That's got nothing to do with police work. That's personal. So you are off code, and nobody's going to come to your assistance. The other thing is in Memphis, we've got an interesting situation. A very high percentage, the overwhelming majority of both police and sheriff's departments are black. You've got a situation where the sheriff's black, and though incompetent, we've got this woman who is the chief of police. She's black. 60% of the criminal court judges in the area are black and female. And you have 75% of the jury pool is black. So you've got a black mayor of county and city, both of whom are essentially useless, but they are there. And a majority black county commission and city council. So you've got a black run city that basically has seen its officials abdicate their responsibility to the people for personal enrichment at the public trough. And you have a situation here that's unique. Police department with flat morale, no direction, 800 officers short of their funded positions. And it's just a real live mess. So everybody's bailing. And I have cause to think that the former Mayor Strickland, the current Mayor Young, the chief of police and Davis, and a certain attorney have collaborated to try and split this $550 million that they're seeking as a recovery from the city of Memphis. And there is a very glaring and obvious technical flaw in the whole case that they have subsumed that they don't seem to have the sophistication to realize. I'm not going to say what it is, but if they don't bring it up, then I'm going to start yelling about we've got a fix going on here, and we've got something that needs to result in some indictments of some other people. But no, in the Tyre Nichols thing, this was so far off code for the police that it's just, when you go way off code, get way off the reservation, you're on your own. Nobody's going to back you up. Nobody ever does. It's just time to everything that wants to come down on the rest of the reservation, you can put on that person and say you did it to yourself or these 5. And the thing with this guy is he comes from a different environment than we are now. It's not in a situation where you have this overwhelming presence of a majority population that is similar to the offenders and the victim. This time you have a minority. See, in the Tyre Nichols situation, the offenders and the victims are not the minority, they are the majority of the population. In this case, you have a majority individual who's accused of, and seems to, from the video that is available, to have committed a transgression against a minority member of that community. This would be akin to, Tyre Nichols is akin to, say, old time white cops jacking up somebody that's white.
Well, you know, Judge, was interesting though. I remember when that video of Tyre Nichols premiered on local news stations and around the country. Really, I'm not going to ever forget when I remember seeing a white dude telling them, you know, make sure you kick his, you know, whatever assets. And I'm saying, but they charged the 5 cops, but they didn't get the white boy that was with them, talking about, you know, make sure you get him in, you know, get him in good for me.
Talking. And see, there's another thing too. Mulroy, who's the new district attorney, I don't know if he's familiar with this, but the 5 of them were charged with the wrong thing. They got charged with second-degree murder. But you see, what the reality is they didn't intend the homicide. What they did is they intended to commit the felony of aggravated assault. And we've got a law in Tennessee that's called the felony murder rule. And when you attempt something like aggravated assault, armed robbery, kidnapping, arson, or something like that, and a homicide occurs, it becomes first-degree murder, or in other words, murder in the perpetration of a felony. So the whole case was approached in an improper, I think, incompetent fashion, which should have been, they committed the felony of an aggravated assault, which resulted in the homicide, which makes it a first-degree murder. Had they done that, what would have happened is they probably could have embraced that white officer. But when they went directly with there was an intent to commit a homicide in the second degree, then he didn't really have any part in it. He's just there. He didn't intervene to stop it. But then again, there's this whole thing, which is a different can of worms, as to whether or not somebody's obligation to stop a crime extends in that fashion. The U.S. Supreme Court has said that the police essentially have no obligation to protect a citizen unless that citizen is actively in someone's custody on arrest for a criminal offense. See, that's why this argument about get rid of the guns and this crap that the city council is doing about putting a referendum on the ballot to get rid of the local application of Tennessee's constitutional carry provisions is so off key, because the police here have no obligation to protect you. They have an obligation to prevent a violation of public peace, dignity, or an order, which may be they have an obligation to stop the offender, but not specifically to protect you. In other words, if you get done in fine, their job is to stop or apprehend the offender, not protect you or shield you.
So I just might have asked Sister Jackie, good person, supporter of We All Be. So what justice can Tyre Nichols' parents see in this situation?
Question is, and I might reveal a secret, who are his parents?
Okay. That's another, like, going down a rabbit hole there, Joe. I met his stepfather and mom.
For example, if you put a child up for adoption and the child is adopted, you're no longer the parent.
Wow.
The adopting parties become the parents. So I mentioned something about the little thing that I'm looking at that's so obvious. If you file a lawsuit on behalf of the parents, did you pick the right crew to declare to be the parents, or do you file on behalf of someone who has no more standing to bring a lawsuit than you or I for that event? You see where that goes? And then without mentioning the person who who has a bit of notoriety for supposedly being an expert in such things, did he not realize that his supposed clients have no standing to file the lawsuit, whereas the ones that do have the standing live in California and they're quite white.
But he also have a son, correct? Did he have like a
Yeah,
child, Tyre Nichols, that's
they
next to
have
King?
standing, but the problem is that the son is effectively the adoptive or the lineal grandchildren of the adoptive parents, grandchild of the adopted parents, because the parent that put the child up for adoption cuts herself off completely under Tennessee law.
Mm.
That's a scoop for you. In other words, if you put a child up for adoption, you abandon all parental rights and the adoptive parents assume all of them. So if you come back in years later to file a wrongful death, you can't. You can't come in to represent the grandchild that the son who is now adopted with new parents has had. The new parents become the standing grandparents, and they have the standing to file for the grandchild who is
Wow.
their grandchild. See, for example, you have 2 or 3 natural children, you and your wife, and you decide to be magnanimous and you adopt another child. Well, that becomes one of your children. So if that child has any children, you are effectively the grandparents.
Okay.
So what is this lawyer doing who doesn't know enough to realize that you have to check the law? So he files on behalf of somebody who is no longer possessed of parental rights. Now,
Yeah.
there's corruption and rumors may be true that there is a fix that's going on. So $550 million is what it is.
Mm.
The city can't afford that, really. So is what I heard when Chief Davis and Mayor Strickland effectively took a dive and confessed the city's liability. Is that because they may have had an under the table agreement to get part of the recovery?
Mm-hmm.
See, in other words, there's a city council. I mean, no city council or anybody told them to be quiet and don't make a statement.
I guess Judge already answered that question.
I've been doing this for
No,
more than
I
a half
met it.
century.
Yeah,
So look
because
at
that
it.
was his stepfather and mother that I met a while back, and they said they decent people, but like, yeah, it's interesting what's going on. Because also, Judge, can you tell me the last time that a corrupt police officer, was tried and found guilty in court and put to death, or had some type of
I ain't happening, but I can tell you some were convicted. I was on the bench. There was a thing where this kid stole his brother's car.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually an honor student. It was out in Millington, and
Okay.
there was a high-speed chase. And the Memphis police department and the sheriff's department told the guy that was doing the high-speed chase to back off. They had the car under surveillance from a helicopter. They wound up running into a gas station. The cop jumped out, pulled his Glock out, and smacked the kid across the back of his head. He had his finger on the trigger. He went off, shot the kid in the back of the head, killed him. And there were 3 Memphis officers, 4, I think, on the scene. And they immediately cuffed him up and charged him with first-degree murder. He got convicted of voluntary manslaughter. And although it was not popular under Tennessee law, a first offense of a Class C felony like manslaughter, which carries 3 to 6 years in the penitentiary for a first offender, is an obligatory probation or diversion case. So the cop was put on diversion, even though the judge in question, who was not me, by the way, did not like the outcome. But you see, that's one of the things that happens. And there's another one too. In my courtroom, a person that was a union official with the Memphis Police Department. His wife was with another cop, and they met somebody on a day when it was just 14 degrees above 0 Fahrenheit in a park which used to be south of the airport, now closed, 2.5 miles from the road, down amongst some trees, and the dents in the ground show the guy was down on the knees. And what really seems to have happened is he was the bag man on a payoff, and he wasn't cooperative, so they shot him, bam, straight down this way. They tried to come up with a thing saying that the wife of the union official was riding in this car with this cop who shot him as he was trying to climb through the window of the car 2.5 miles from airways, in the wilderness, in the trees at 4 o'clock in the morning with snow on the ground at 14 above zero. So they had a special prosecutor who was a civilian. He didn't win the case. Dr. Jerry Francisco, who is a hack, who had testified to the contrary, gave them the excuse where he was so far away from the emergency room that he wouldn't have survived long enough to have been saved, which could have happened had he gotten emergency treatment. And then it became a matter of failure to report, which they did not report the shooting, which they had an obligation to do as an officer. I'm aware of that case because it was tried in my courtroom 30-some years ago. I'm aware of what happened with the Shannon Street thing. The FBI asked me to come in there and take photographs as a community witness, which I did. It was a bad situation, and everybody on the scene that was looking said it was a homicide. They lined the 6 people up in question on the floor, head, foot, and shot them from the doorways. That's when they traced the pathways of the bullets. You put these carbon fiber rods of the right diameter in the bullet holes, and you see where they lead, and they led to the doors. But they ruled it a justifiable homicide, though everybody on the scene investigating it was clear in their determination that it was a homicide, intentional. Let's see, there were 2 other police I know that had this habit. One of them would always take a piece of rebar, saw it off, and put leather around it, and he would use it as a weapon. And he punched 2 neat holes in this guy's skull and killed him. He went to trial. Dr. Jerry Francisco again came in and testified that he was just struck a blow on the head with a blunt device. And during the course of trial, it was pointed out that what about the holes in his head? Okay, there was another case tried in front of me where they tried to frame another man, and they said he had shot this guy in the head from the right side. Well, he was sitting next to him, put 2 bullets in his head, but the autopsy revealed there were 3 bullets in his head that came from the left, even though the so-called assailant was sitting on the right. And when it was pointed out during the trial that, well, hell, I was involved in that as a defense lawyer. I wasn't the judge on that one. What happened here? Oh, what do you mean? Well, there are 3 bullets in his head in his x-ray. Oh, my goodness, I didn't see that. Okay, fine. How do you explain only 2 holes in his head? Well, one of them must have come in through the same hole. Really? You know. This kind of stuff when you cover for what's going on that others may be involved in. There are all kinds of cases in Shelby County where police have been put on trial. There was one in particular where a woman, I think I was acquainted with her, she was a lady cop. She got shot to death in a bathtub by a jealous somebody who seemed to have been on the department. He went to trial. So It's not that these things don't happen. It's just there's a selective reporting by the major news sources in this area that don't suggest these things because they don't hit the fan. This was at a time when such things weren't of interest because they were so routine. Nowadays, everybody wants to be titillated, so it's good way to fill up these hour-long news programs that otherwise lack sufficient news of the traditional type to.
Judge Joe Brown's all-new barbecue sauce and seasoning. Justice in the form of flavor.
Law firms will take this as a retainer.
What? It must be a law firm where they hungry as hell. Now you gonna help me with this parole I'm dealing with?